stop, focus, and live. Don't go back to what steals your time. How many more days will you give away your time to things that don't build you up? How many more hours will you bury in empty distractions, soulless conversations, and routines you repeat out of sheer inertia? Stop for a moment, breathe. Ask yourself this question with brutal honesty. If you don't wake up tomorrow, can you say you've truly lived? We're not here to embellish reality. There's no dress rehearsal, no second act. This is your only life, and the hourglass is already ticking. Grain by grain, minute by minute, your existence slips away. Your time is life. Don't waste it. Most people know this, but almost no one accepts it. We rush around seeking validation from others, comparing ourselves, chasing impossible perfection, numbing ourselves with instant entertainment. And so, when we least expect it, we discover we've spent entire years on things that never brought us closer to the person we dreamed of being. Imagine a ship moored in the harbor, waiting for the perfect day of wind and tide to set sail. That day never comes, and the ship, made to sail, rusts on the shore. Dreams wither in the same way when you choose to postpone your life. The truth is uncomfortable, but liberating. Lost time never returns. You can't recover even a minute of yesterday. All you have is now. That's why today I want to give you a clear, straightforward command. Focus on yourself. Stop wasting your life. This isn't about selfishness, but about respect. Respect for your time, your energy, your purpose. It's about ceasing to dilute yourself in what doesn't matter, and instead investing every moment in what truly builds your path. In the following pages, we will embark together on a profound and practical journey. You will learn to stop chasing a paralyzing perfection, to protect your focus as your most sacred treasure, and to live in the present instead of postponing your life. You will learn to say no, to stop comparing yourself to others, to listen to your inner voice, and to define your own version of success. Because if you don't decide, the world will decide for you, and that is the greatest waste of all. So open your eyes, open your mind, and open your heart. This is your calling. Act now. Chapter 1. Don't pursue perfection. There is a painter whose story is etched in the memory of his people. Every day, he locked himself in his studio with the promise of finishing the most beautiful painting that had ever existed. He had talent, he had passion, he had time, but he also had a silent enemy: perfection. He always found a stroke that didn't convince him, a color that wasn't pure enough, a shadow that needed one more adjustment. And so the days, the weeks, the months, and finally the years passed. The canvas never left his studio. No one ever beheld that masterpiece, because for him, it was never finished. He died with a paintbrush in his hand, and the bitter certainty of having lived more in the illusion of perfection than in the act of creating. His life was a painful example of what it means to remain anchored, waiting for an ideal moment that never arrives. Perfection is a mirage. It seems to promise security, acceptance, recognition, but in reality, it is an invisible chain that binds you to inaction. It is like a ship that remains moored in the harbor, waiting for the sea to be perfectly calm and the wind to blow in exactly the right direction. That ship will never set sail. It rusts silently, while the world keeps turning. So too do dreams rust when they are never pursued for fear of not being perfect. Modern psychology has studied this phenomenon. Numerous studies have shown that perfectionism is closely linked to procrastination and high levels of anxiety and stress. Those who strive for perfection often fall into a mental trap. Since nothing is ever good enough, they procrastinate, revise repeatedly, postpone starting, and punish themselves for not moving forward. They become slaves to an impossible standard that paralyzes them. Perfectionism doesn't lead to success. It leads to stagnation. Think about this. How many projects have you left unfinished because you felt they weren't ready yet? How many opportunities have you rejected because you believed you weren't good enough yet? How many times have you hidden behind the excuse of, "I'll do it when I'm better prepared"? That's the voice of perfection stealing your life. Every time you give in to that voice, you surrender minutes and hours that will never return. Remember, your time is life. Don't give it away to the mirage of perfection. Instead of seeking perfection, adopt a much more powerful mindset. The mindset of good enough. The Japanese have a concept called kaizen, which means continuous improvement, advancing little by little, with small steps that bring you closer to your goal. They don't expect absolute perfection. They trust in evolution. If you apply the 70% rule when something is good enough, launch it, share it, do it, you'll take the leap that many never dare to take. Because imperfect progress will always be more valuable than imagined perfection. Visualize it this way. You're on a dock with a bucket of water. Every time you postpone, waiting for the ideal moment, it's as if you have holes in the bucket. The water, which is your vital energy, slowly drains away until it's empty. When you finally decide to move, there's nothing left to move forward with. Perfectionism drains your energy just like a leaky bucket. On the other hand, if you act with what you have today, even if it's 70% ready, even if it's not perfect, you make use of the water before it's lost. Some of humanity's most revolutionary advances were born imperfect. The first car was noisy and clunky, but it opened the door to modern mobility. The first mobile phone was large, expensive, and limited, but it ushered in an era that changed communication forever. If its creators had waited for perfection, perhaps you wouldn't enjoy any of it today. Greatness lies not in doing it perfectly from the start, but in taking the first step and allowing improvement to happen along the way. The same is true in your personal life. Want to start exercising? Don't wait to have the ideal workout clothes or the perfect gym. Start today with what you have, even if it's just a 10-minute walk. Want to start a business? Don't wait to have the most detailed plan in the world or millions in capital. Start with what's within your reach. Want to write a book? Don't wait for all the ideas to fit together like a perfect puzzle. Start by writing the first page, even if you revise it later. What matters isn't perfection. What matters is movement. Movement generates clarity, generates confidence, generates results. Every imperfect action is a seed that can grow and transform. Every day you postpone, waiting for the perfect moment, is a lost day, buried forever in the graveyard of excuses. Now, I want you to consider a simple practice. Every time you find yourself stuck thinking, "It's not ready yet," ask yourself, "Is this at least 70% complete?" If the answer is yes, act, publish, deliver, share, launch. The world doesn't need your perfection. It needs your progress. And you don't need the burden of endless waiting. You need the freedom of having acted. Do you want to look back and say, "I didn't start because I was waiting for the perfect moment"? Or do you prefer to remember that even with fear, even with doubts, you took steps that led you to places you never imagined? Perfection is static, dead, rigid. Progress is dynamic, alive, expansive. and life always favors those who move. Remember this metaphor. A flowing river, even with turbulent waters, always moves forward, always finds a way. A stagnant pool, striving for perfection, only rots. Your life should be a river, not a pool. Movement, not waiting. Don't seek perfection, seek action. Don't wait for everything to align. Move with what you have. The ship that sets sail with doubts will always travel further than the one that never left the harbor. And here's the key. Once you act, your greatest treasure will be protecting what allows you to stay the course. That treasure is your focus, because starting is vital, but continuing with clarity is what truly transforms your life. In the next chapter, you'll learn how to defend your attention from the constant noise that threatens to steal what's most sacred to you, your ability to concentrate on what truly matters. Chapter 2. Protect your focus. Imagine a typical workday. You sit down at your computer, determined to make progress on an important project. But barely 5 minutes have passed when your phone vibrates. A message in a group chat. You check it. Then, a social media notification. Next, an email that you can't put off. When you glance at the clock, 2 hours have gone by, and all you have is a scattered, tired, and frustrated mind. What could have been a productive day has turned into a battlefield where your attention has been devoured piece by piece. This scenario is not uncommon. In fact, recent studies show that the average person receives between 50 and 100 notifications a day on their phone. And each interruption, however small, can cost you 20 to 30 minutes of real concentration to regain your previous mental state. In other words, a single interruption can destroy almost half an hour of your life. Do the math. If you lose that focus 5 times a day, that's more than 2 hours wasted. 2 hours each day equals 14 hours a week. Almost 2 full days of your existence dedicated not to creating, not to growing, but to attending to worthless distractions. The truth is, focus is the most valuable currency in this age of overstimulation, and few realize that protecting it is protecting their life. Your time is life, but your focus is the lens that gives direction to that time. Without focus, your life scatters like water spilled on the ground. It flows everywhere, but fills nothing. With focus, that same water is concentrated into a channel and can move mountains. Professor Cal Newport, author of the famous book Deep Work, explains that the ability to work deeply, without distractions, for extended periods of time, is today's true superpower. It's not intelligence, it's not luck, it's not innate talent. It's the ability to protect your focus in a world designed to steal it. Newport demonstrates that people who master this art achieve extraordinary results, not because they do more things, but because they manage to enter a state of depth that multiplies the value of every minute invested. And yet, most of us live with a leaky bucket. Every notification, every interruption, every unnecessary conversation is a hole through which your ability to concentrate escapes. Imagine, you're carrying a bucket full of water to water your garden, but as you walk, the water constantly drips from tiny cracks. When you arrive, there's barely a trickle left. The same thing happens with your focus. Even if you start the day with energy, you end up exhausted because you've let it slip away in small lapses of attention. Protecting your focus is an act of rebellion against distraction. It's a commitment to your life. And this is where the discipline of setting clear boundaries comes in. That's why you need rituals, techniques, and limits that transform your focus into a sacred space. One of the most powerful and simple tools is the Pomodoro technique. It consists of working with absolute concentration for 25 minutes and then taking a 5-minute break. Every 4 blocks, a longer break. It may seem trivial, but it's a method backed by neuroscience. The human brain functions better in short, intense bursts than in long marathons of forced attention. With Pomodoro, you train your mind to enter a state of deep focus, and you do it without exhausting it. Another crucial habit is turning off notifications. You don't need your phone interrupting you every time someone reacts with an emoji on social media. Most of those interruptions add nothing to your life. If something is truly important, it will reach you through the right channels. Turn off notifications, mute unnecessary groups, and stop being a slave to the constant ping. Every sound you ignore is a thief who doesn't get into your house. Furthermore, every morning you should ask yourself, what are the 3 most important things I need to accomplish today? Not 10, not 20, just 3. Write them down and commit to completing them before opening the door to everything else. This simple practice has a transformative effect. It turns your day into a field of focused attention, not a jungle of distractions. Focus isn't just about productivity, it's about presence. When you protect your attention, you not only accomplish more, but you also experience the moment more fully. Think about a conversation with someone you love. If your mind is on your phone, you're not there. If your mind is on 10 things at once, you're not there. But if your focus is on that person, even for just 10 minutes, that moment becomes eternal. Focus turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. Some believe that multitasking is a sign of efficiency. Science proves otherwise. Multitasking is simply switching contexts over and over again, which drains mental energy and reduces the quality of your work. You're not a computer opening multiple windows. You're a human being, and your mind flourishes when it focuses on one thing at a time. I want you to think about the sun. Its scattered rays warm, but they don't transform. However, when concentrated through a magnifying glass, they can ignite a fire. That's how your focus works. Scattered, it barely warms. Concentrated, it can burn away the impossible. Today, more than ever, protecting your focus is protecting your destiny. It's not about doing more. It's about doing what's essential with the utmost depth. It's not about living in a rush, but about living with direction. And that direction only exists when your attention is entirely focused on what truly matters. Implement these actions. Work in blocks of concentration. Eliminate unnecessary notifications. Define your 3 daily priorities. And above all, remember every day that your focus is non-negotiable. If you give it away, you give away your life. If you protect it, you multiply your existence. The previous chapter taught you that you don't need perfection to begin, but now you know that, once you begin, your mission is to shield your attention. Because without focus, all progress is diluted. And with focus, even a small step becomes a giant leap. In the next chapter, you will discover something even deeper, that life isn't waiting for you in a perfect future, but rather it's happening here, in this very moment. You will learn that real time isn't tomorrow. It isn't later. It isn't when everything is in order. Life only exists now, and if you don't live it today, you'll never live it. Chapter 3. Life is now. I know the story of a woman who dreamed of traveling. For years, she talked about exploring cities, experiencing different cultures, seeing with her own eyes the places she only saw in photographs, but she always put it off. When I have more money, she would say. When my children are older. when I retire. And so, one after another, the years went by. Later never came. Illness struck before the trip. She died without having seen a single one of the places she so longed for. Her story is not unique. Millions of people postpone their dreams, waiting for a future that never appears. Life isn't out there in the future. Life doesn't begin when you get your dream job, when you lose weight, when you have the perfect partner, or when retirement arrives. Life is happening right now. In this instant you breathe. In this moment you hear these words. Every second that slips away is another grain in the hourglass. And that hourglass never stops. No matter how much you beg, no matter how long you wait, every grain that falls is lost forever. We live deluded by the idea that the future is a sure promise. We tell ourselves, I'll start tomorrow. Next week will be better. When everything is aligned, I'll do it. But the future is just a hypothesis, a mental illusion. The only thing that's real is now. Tomorrow doesn't exist yet, and yesterday is already gone. You only have this moment, and if you don't seize it, you lose it. Think of an hourglass on the table. The grains that have already fallen represent your past. You can't put them back up. The ones up there represent your future. They're not yet in your hands. The only thing you truly possess are the grains that, at this very moment, are passing through the narrow center, slowly sliding down. That's your present. That's your life. Positive psychology has shown that the happiest people aren't those who have everything, nor those who wait for a perfect tomorrow, but rather those who have learned to live in the present. The practice of mindfulness is a clear example. Scientific studies confirm that those who train their minds to be in the here and now experience less anxiety, less stress, and greater life satisfaction. It's not magic, it's simple reality. When you live in the present, you truly live. However, most of us take refuge in two traps: the past and the future. The past fills us with guilt and nostalgia. The future fills us with fears and expectations. And while we jump from one to the other, we miss the only thing we truly have, the now. It's like holding a gift in your hands and not opening it because you're thinking about the next birthday. I want to suggest a simple yet powerful exercise. Stop for a minute. Breathe deeply. Inhale to a count of 4. Hold your breath for a moment and exhale to a count of 6. Do it again. And as you breathe, ask yourself, what is happening in my body right now? What do I hear around me? What do I feel here and now? This small act of awareness is a way to remind yourself that life isn't in your head. It isn't in the what-ifs. It isn't in the when I have. Life is here. And when you train your mind to return to the present again and again, you reclaim the key to your existence. Living in the now doesn't mean ignoring the future or lacking plans. It means stopping postponing your life, hoping that the future will save you. It means acting today with what you have, because tomorrow is uncertain. It means not postponing your happiness for a time that may never come. How many times have you told yourself, I'll be happy when I lose weight, when I find a partner, when I get a promotion, when I buy a house? And when that happens, what then? Happiness shifts a little further. I'll be happy when I achieve the next thing. And so you spend your life chasing a mirage you never reach. The key isn't to condition your life on what's to come, but to learn to enjoy and build upon what you already have. Remember, no one guarantees you tomorrow. Thousands of people today won't see a new dawn. I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying it to wake you up. The gift of opening your eyes each morning is the greatest opportunity you have. Don't waste it on the illusion that the real beginning is just around the corner. The present won't always be comfortable. There may be pain, there may be uncertainty, there may be fear, but even that is life. And when you accept it, go through it, and live it, you grow. The opposite is to numb yourself with distractions to avoid feeling, to procrastinate to avoid facing challenges, to dream of a perfect future instead of acting in the imperfect present. Ask yourself this question. If you knew you wouldn't wake up tomorrow, what would you choose to do today? Perhaps you would call someone you love. Perhaps you would write those words you've been holding on to for years. Perhaps you would finally dare to take that step you've been putting off. So, why wait? You don't need a death sentence to start living. You need courage to do it now. Living in the present also means setting aside time for yourself. Because it's pointless to acknowledge that life is now if you give everything to others and have nothing left for yourself. You must protect your time as you protect your breath. Just as no one can breathe for you, no one can live your present for you. Giving it away to someone who doesn't value it is wasting your only chance. From today onward, repeat this like a mantra. My life is now, not tomorrow. Every time your mind tries to drag you into later, bring it back to the present. Breathe, feel, act. Because only when you inhabit the now can you build a different tomorrow. Now you know that the present is the terrain where that weapon is used. Because focus without presence is like a sword that is never drawn, and the present without focus is a gift that you never open. Both are necessary, and both bring you back to the most powerful truth. Life is now. In the next chapter, we will discover another vital principle. If you want to live fully in the present, you must learn to protect your time from others. Because often it is not digital distraction that steals your life, but the demands of others. Empty commitments, relationships that drain your energy. And if you don't know how to say no, you'll never have a true yes for yourself. Chapter 4. Don't give your time away to others. There's a story that repeats itself far too often. A man with big plans for his life decides every week to postpone them because someone asked him for a favor. He accepts unnecessary meetings, attends social engagements he doesn't enjoy, and listens for hours to complaints that lead nowhere. At the end of the month, he feels exhausted, empty, having taken no progress toward his own dreams. And yet, when someone else calls him, he says yes again. Little by little, his life is consumed by other people's schedules, while his own remains blank. Your time is the most valuable resource you possess. You can't save it, you can't multiply it, you can't get it back. Every hour you give away never returns. And yet, many squander it as if it were infinite. We say we don't have time for what's important, but in reality, we give it away to what's insignificant. The truth is harsh. It's not that you don't have time. It's that you're giving it to things that don't deserve your life. Imagine it this way. Your time is like a glass of crystal clear water. Every time you share it with someone, you pour a little of that water into their glass. But if that glass is broken, what you give is wasted. No matter how much you give, it will never fill anything. You'll end up with your glass empty, thirsty, exhausted, with nothing for yourself. That's how relationships, commitments, and obligations that don't contribute to your growth are. They absorb your energy and let it escape like water from a broken vessel. It's not about becoming selfish or rejecting everything that comes from the outside. It's about recognizing that saying yes to others is often saying no to yourself. Every commitment you accept is a decision about how you will spend your life. And if you're not aware of this, you end up a prisoner of other people's expectations. The problem is that we find it hard to say no. We're afraid of disappointing others, of seeming rude, of missing out on opportunities. We think that being kind means always being available. But kindness can't come at the expense of your own well-being. Saying yes to everything is a slow form of self-destruction. Psychology confirms this. Studies on assertiveness show that those who know how to set clear boundaries enjoy greater emotional well-being, less stress, and more personal satisfaction. Because every time you say no to what doesn't matter, you're saying yes to what truly builds your life. I want to give you some tools to reclaim your time without feeling guilty. The first is learning to say no respectfully but firmly. You don't need to justify yourself with elaborate excuses. Phrases like, "I appreciate it, but I can't right now. Thank you for thinking of me, but I won't be participating." Or simply, "No, thank you," are enough. Short, clear, and guilt-free. The second tool is to review your schedule each week and ask yourself, which of these activities contribute to my growth, my peace, my goals, and which are just empty commitments? Ruthlessly eliminate the unnecessary. Remember, every hour you reclaim is an hour of life returned to you. The third tool is to define your priorities before others do it for you. If you don't decide how to use your time, someone else will, and almost never to your advantage. Write down your most important goals, your core values, and every time someone asks you for something, compare it to that list. If it doesn't fit, decline. It's not about isolating yourself from the world. It's about living with intention. Imagine your life is a garden. If you allow anyone to enter and pick flowers, soon nothing beautiful will remain. But if you set a fence, if you decide who enters and under what conditions, your garden flourishes. Your life flourishes when you set boundaries. Remember this metaphor. Every time you say yes to something you don't want, it's like giving away gold coins in exchange for breadcrumbs. Your time is pure gold, and you must treat it as such. Don't trade it for things that don't nourish your soul. Try this practical exercise. Write down in a notebook the 3 most recent situations in which you said yes when you really wanted to say no. Analyze what made you accept. Fear, guilt, habit. Then write down how you could respond differently next time. This simple exercise trains your mind and heart to protect your time. When you learn to say no, you'll feel uncomfortable at first, but you'll soon discover something liberating. People begin to respect you more, because those who know how to set boundaries demonstrate self-worth, and those who respect themselves inspire respect in others. Your time is finite. If you give your time to what doesn't matter, you won't have room for what does. And then one day you'll look back and realize you've lived the life others chose for you, not the one you desired. Don't let that happen. Saying no doesn't mean rejecting people. It means honoring your path. It means choosing wisely where you put your energy. It means taking care of yourself so you can truly give, not from exhaustion or obligation, but from abundance. The previous chapter showed you that life only exists in the present. But now you understand something else. If you give that present without measure to others, you'll stop living it yourself. Learning to reserve your time is the next step on your journey toward a life with purpose. And here's the natural connection. When you stop giving your time to others, you also stop comparing yourself to them, because you no longer live according to their expectations, but according to your own progress. The next chapter will show you how to free yourself from external comparison and learn to measure yourself only against the most important person, your past self. Chapter 5. Compare yourself only to yourself. On a running track, an experienced runner was preparing for the race of his life. He had been training for months, perfecting every step, every breath. But when the starting gun fired, instead of focusing on his own pace, he began glancing at the runner next to him. Every time he saw him overtake, he sped up. Every time he seemed to be falling behind, he slowed down. He finished exhausted, uncoordinated, and crossed the finish line in last place. Later, he confessed that he had lost not because of a lack of preparation, but because he had never run his own race. This happens to many of us in life. We spend our days observing what others are doing, how much they earn, what they post, where they travel, what achievements they showcase. And every comparison steals our peace, leads us astray, and fills us with frustration. External comparison is a never-ending race, because there will always be someone with more, with something better, with something different that you don't have. And if you live measuring your worth by others' standards, you'll never feel good enough. The problem is that social media has amplified this poison. Today, with a single click, we can see the brightest moments in the lives of millions of people. But what we see is just a shop window, a carefully curated display. No one shows their tears in the early hours, their hidden failures, their inner battles. We compare our behind-the-scenes lives with the brightly lit stage of others, and we lose sight of the fact that it's not a fair measure. Psychology explains it clearly. Those who focus on external social comparison tend to experience more anxiety, envy, and depression. In contrast, those who practice self-comparison, measuring themselves against their past selves, show higher levels of motivation and satisfaction. Because instead of looking outward for validation, they look inward for progress. Imagine a mirror. Every morning, instead of asking yourself, "Am I better than them?" ask yourself, "Am I better than I was yesterday?" That's the only standard that matters. Your race isn't against the world. It's against the version of yourself you were in the past. If today you're a little more disciplined, more mindful, a little more courageous than yesterday, you've already won. Think of a musician who practices their instrument every day. They don't need to be better than everyone else. They just need to be better than they were a week ago. That cumulative progress, drop by drop, makes them a master over time. That's how your life works. Personal progress is a bridge built with small bricks of daily improvement. I want to suggest a powerful exercise. Keep a progress journal, not a complaint journal, but a growth journal. Every night, write down 3 things you made progress on, even if they're small. Today, I resisted the temptation to procrastinate. Today, I was more patient with someone. Today, I made 1 page on my project. At first, it will seem insignificant. But after a few months, you'll have a record of your own evolution. And when your mind tries to trick you into thinking you're not changing, you'll have concrete proof that you are. Remember the mirror metaphor. Don't compare yourself to the reflection of others because you don't see the whole picture. Compare yourself to yourself, because there you can see the before and after. And every time you notice a small improvement, celebrate it. Self-comparison isn't meant to punish you, but to motivate you. Don't forget that everyone runs in a different lane. Yours has its own distance, its own terrain, its own curves. Perhaps today it seems someone is ahead, but maybe they're on a different track, playing by different rules. Comparing yourself to them is as absurd as a fish trying to measure its worth by a bird's ability to fly. You have your own design, your own purpose. There's an African proverb that says, "The grass doesn't grow faster because you look at it." Other people's lives won't become smaller or larger because of your comparison. but your energy will wither if you waste it looking around instead of looking ahead. Ask yourself honestly, how much of your time is spent watching what others are doing, instead of focusing on what you can build? How much of your energy is lost in silent envy, instead of using it to grow? That diverted energy is wasted life. And you already know, your time is life. Don't give it away to comparison. I want you to etch this image in your mind. You're running on a track, and the mirrors are on either side. Every time you look outward, you stumble. Every time you look back, you lose speed. Only when you look ahead and see your own reflection from yesterday do you find direction. That's the race that matters, yours. External comparison is also unfair because everyone starts from a different point. Some are born with more resources, others with more difficulties. But what matters isn't where you start, but how far you've come from your starting point. It's not about arriving first, it's about not stopping. Make self-comparison a habit. Every morning, ask yourself, what can I do today to be 1% better than yesterday? That 1% seems small, but over time, it accumulates. A 1% daily improvement becomes a gigantic transformation in a year. That's the magic of compound progress. The previous chapter showed you the importance of protecting your time from others. This teaches you to protect your mind from comparison. Both are thieves. One steals your time, the other steals your peace. But when you say no and when you stop looking outward, you begin to look inward. And there, within yourself, you will discover that most of the answers you seek were already with you from the beginning. In the next chapter, we will explore this truth. You will see how the greatest treasure lies not in external approval or comparison, but in the treasure chest you carry inside. Because only those who dare to look honestly within themselves find the strength to define their destiny. Chapter 6. The answers are within you. There is an ancient parable about a young man named Adrian. He spent his days searching for a treasure that, according to legend, was hidden somewhere in the world. He traveled through cities, crossed seas, and climbed mountains. He asked wise men, merchants, and travelers, but no one gave him a clear answer, until an old man with an enigmatic smile handed him a map. Finally, after years of searching, he reached the marked place, a chest buried beneath a tree. With trembling hands, he opened it, and inside he found a mirror. The treasure wasn't in distant lands, but within himself. All his life he had searched outside for what he had always carried within. This story holds a truth that many ignore. The answers you seek are not in the approval of others, nor in trendy books, nor in opinions that change with the wind. They are within you. The noise of the world may confuse you, but your inner voice never lies. The problem is that we rarely take the time to listen to it. We live so busy chasing after external things, success, recognition, validation, that we forget to look inward. And so we spend our lives searching for borrowed compasses when the most reliable one has always been in our hearts. Modern psychology supports this idea. Numerous studies show that conscious self-reflection improves decision-making, strengthens resilience, and increases clarity of purpose. When you pause to examine your own thoughts and emotions, you uncover hidden patterns, identify limiting beliefs, and access a level of practical wisdom that no external advice can replace. Think about this. How many times have you sought advice from everyone else, only to realize that deep down, you already knew what to do? Perhaps you needed courage, not answers. Perhaps you needed permission, not approval. The truth is, your intuition is wiser than you think. But to listen to it, you need silence. The modern world fills us with noise. Notifications, opinions, comparisons, expectations. Each one is like a layer of dust covering your inner mirror. If you don't clean that mirror, you stop seeing who you truly are. Self-reflection is that act of cleaning, removing layer after layer until you finally see yourself clearly. I want to propose a simple and transformative habit. Every night before going to sleep, write down 3 questions and answer them with brutal honesty. 1. What did I do well today that brings me closer to the life I want? 2. What did I do wrong or neglect that I need to improve tomorrow? 3. What am I truly feeling right now, and what does it teach me about myself? This exercise won't take more than 10 minutes, but it can change your life, because little by little, you'll begin to recognize your patterns, to identify your strengths and weaknesses, to discover that the compass has always been within you. Remember, personal growth isn't about collecting information, but about integrating wisdom. It's not about reading more books, but about applying the answers you already know but don't dare to obey. Its branches reach for the sky, but its strength comes from the roots hidden underground. Your visible achievements are sustained by the solidity of your inner world. If you neglect your roots, any storm will knock you down. But if you delve deep within yourself, you will find stability even in the midst of chaos. Inside, you will also discover something essential: your true definition of success. Many believe they look for answers outside themselves because they don't trust their own. But when you learn to listen to yourself, you discover that you don't need to follow anyone else's map. You don't need the applause of the public or the approval of the crowd. You only need to be true to what resonates within you. Try this experiment. Whenever you have to make an important decision, instead of asking 10 people what they would do, be silent, breathe, write down what you feel, and ask yourself, which choice brings me closer to the life I desire? That inner answer is more honest than any external opinion. Don't confuse this with ignoring the lessons of others. Listening to experiences can be helpful, but it should never replace your own compass. You can be inspired by someone else's path, but ultimately, you must walk on your own 2 feet. When you learn to listen to your inner voice, you free yourself from the constant need for validation. You no longer need to prove anything because you already know who you are. You no longer live in fear of judgment because your inner voice is stronger than external voices. And that is true freedom. Remember this metaphor. Your life is like a ship in the middle of the sea. You can listen to the advice of other captains, but the helm is in your hands. If you don't trust your inner compass, you will end up adrift, sailing toward ports you don't want. The previous chapter taught you to stop comparing yourself to others and measure yourself only against your past self. This chapter takes it a step further. It reminds you that the answers are not outside, but within. Only by looking inward can you find your true direction. In the next chapter, we'll discover how, once you begin to listen to that inner voice, an inevitable question arises. What does success mean to you? Not the success others proclaim, not the kind that glitters on the surface, but the kind that truly gives your life meaning. There, you'll learn to define your own concept of success, one that guides you with clarity and purpose. Chapter 7. Define your own success. There was a man who dedicated his entire life to building a fortune. From a young age, he worked tirelessly, accumulating achievements, titles, and recognition. His house was enormous, his car luxurious, his schedule always packed. From the outside, Everyone admired him as a paragon of success. But every night, when he was alone, he felt an unbearable emptiness. He had gained money, but he had lost his peace. He had a huge bed, but he couldn't sleep. He had won the approval of thousands, but he had distanced himself from his true self. In the end, he understood something painful. He had reached the summit of the wrong mountain. This happens to far too many people. They chase after a definition of success that doesn't belong to them, imposed by society. But when they arrive, they discover that what they conquered doesn't fill their soul. It means letting go of external expectations and bravely asking yourself, what does a life well lived mean to me? Perhaps it's not money, perhaps it's not fame, perhaps it's not having more than others. Perhaps it's the tranquility of reading with your children every night, the satisfaction of creating something you love, the peace of living in accordance with your values. Society sells us a suit of success that looks shiny, but often it doesn't fit us. It's like an elegant, bespoke suit, but made for someone else's body. You can put it on, but it's too tight, uncomfortable, and suffocating. True fulfillment comes when you allow yourself to design your own suit, even if it doesn't follow current trends. Remember the fable of the tortoise and the hare. The hare mocked the hare because it was fast, because it seemed destined to win. But the tortoise, slow and steady, advanced at its own pace. In the end, it was the tortoise that crossed the finish line. Why? Because it didn't compare itself to others, didn't let itself be swayed, didn't run with the haste of others. It ran at its own pace. That's what personal success is. It's not about arriving first. It's about arriving where you want, at your own pace. Psychology confirms this. Research on subjective well-being shows that those who define success in terms of internal values, such as authenticity, purpose, and meaningful relationships, report greater happiness and resilience. In contrast, those who pursue external goals, status, fame, money, as the ultimate end, often fall into cycles of endless dissatisfaction. Because external things are never enough. There will always be someone with more. Internal things, on the other hand, can bring you fulfillment. Ask yourself these questions. What makes me feel alive? When do I experience true peace? What moments do I want to remember on my deathbed? The answers that emerge are your compass for defining success. And most importantly, accept that your definition may be different from others. You don't need to justify it, just live it. I want to propose a practical exercise. Write your personal success manifesto in 3 to 5 lines. For example, for me, success is having quality time with my family, taking care of my health, and contributing to the growth of others. Or, for me, success is living in freedom, creating with passion, and maintaining inner peace. This manifesto will be your beacon amidst the noise. Whenever you have doubts, reread it. Remember also that your definition can evolve. What's important today may change over time. Success isn't a fixed destination. It's a journey of transformation. And that's okay. Because what's essential is that, at each stage, you live in accordance with what makes sense to you. Define your internal metrics as well. Don't measure your worth by other people's numbers, salary, likes, titles. Create your own measures. Have I been true to my values? Am I cultivating genuine relationships? Does my life reflect what I say matters to me? These are the metrics that matter, the ones that will bring you serenity at the end of the road. Imagine someone using a GPS to reach a destination. If you enter the wrong address, the system can guide you perfectly, but to the wrong place. This is what happens when you adopt someone else's definition of success. You can strive, be disciplined, achieve goals, but all in a direction that wasn't yours. The price is incredibly high. A wasted life. That's why you should define your destiny before you even begin. Ask yourself, what does success mean to me? And only to me. Not to my parents, not to my friends, not to society. The answer might surprise you. It might be simpler than you think. It might be more humble, more authentic, more yours. And that simplicity is power. The previous chapter taught you that the answers lie within you. Now you understand that one of the most important is this: your own definition of success. If you don't create it, others will do it for you. And if you live by someone else's definition, you'll always feel empty. Nature offers a perfect example: ants. They don't compare themselves to birds, lions, or humans. They know their task, they perform it with discipline, and thanks to that, they survive and thrive. In the next chapter, we'll learn from them the most powerful lesson: that discipline and perseverance, more than fleeting inspiration, are what build a truly successful life. Chapter 8. Learn from the ants. Imagine an endless line of ants carrying breadcrumbs. Each one carries a weight that, compared to its size, seems impossible. They don't complain. They don't stop to watch what the others are doing. They don't wait for the perfect moment. They simply move forward, step by step, with unwavering discipline. It doesn't matter if the distance is long or the piece small. They carry it, store it, and return for more. And so, with perseverance, they manage to accumulate reserves that guarantee the survival of the entire colony. Ants don't depend on motivation. They don't wait to feel inspired to act. Their strength lies in discipline, in the habit of doing what is necessary without excuses. This is one of the most powerful lessons that nature can teach us. True progress is not built on flashes of enthusiasm, but on daily consistency. We, on the other hand, tend to depend too much on inspiration. We want to feel motivated to start a project, to exercise, to study, to change our habits. But motivation is like the weather. It's constantly changing. Some days the sun shines, other days it rains non-stop. If you wait for motivation to appear, you'll progress erratically, with long periods of stagnation. Discipline, on the other hand, is like an engine that keeps running even when there's a storm outside. Behavioral psychology confirms that small, consistent habits produce far more powerful transformations than sporadic efforts. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, explains it clearly. A 1% improvement a day may seem insignificant, but accumulated over time, it produces extraordinary results. Just as an ant doesn't build an anthill in a single trip, you don't build a fulfilling life in a single effort. It's consistent repetition that makes all the difference. Visualize your biggest goal. Perhaps it's writing a book, starting a business, improving your health, or learning a new skill. It seems immense, maybe even unattainable. But if you break it down into tiny steps and repeat them every day, you'll soon notice real progress. Just as the ant doesn't wonder how many miles are left, but simply takes the next step, you can focus on today's small advance. Imagine your goal is to write a 300-page book. If you write just 1 page a day, you'll have it in less than a year. 1 page a day doesn't seem like much, but consistency turns the small into the monumental. Or think about your health. A 20-minute walk a day, sustained for months, can transform your body and energy more than a week of intense gym workouts followed by quitting. Here's the key: Discipline is greater than motivation. Motivation is the spark that ignites, but discipline is the fire that sustains the flame. If you learn to take action even when you don't feel like it, you'll have mastered one of the greatest secrets of success. I want to suggest a practical exercise. Write down your most important goal right now. Then break it down into steps so small you can't afford to fail. Want to read more? Start with 5 pages a day. Want to save money? Put aside a small amount each week, even if it's just a token amount. Want to improve your fitness? Do 5 minutes of exercise daily. These small steps are your breadcrumbs, and each one adds up to the anthill of your life. Remember, too, that discipline doesn't mean lifeless rigidity. Just as ants work together and celebrate their collective achievement, you too can give yourself permission to acknowledge your progress. Celebrate every small step, because it's evidence of your perseverance. Another lesson from ants is resilience. If an obstacle blocks their path, they don't give up. They look for another route. They go around the rock. They climb over it. They never lose sight of their ultimate goal. This adaptability is part of their discipline. It's not about moving forward only when everything is clear, but about moving forward even when the path demands creativity. Life, like the path of the ants, is full of stones and detours. If your discipline depends on everything being easy, you'll give up as soon as the first difficulty appears. But if you adopt the ant's mindset, persistent, flexible, determined, you'll learn to find alternative paths without losing your way. Ask yourself, what prevents me from moving forward with the perseverance of an ant? Am I waiting to feel motivated? Am I looking for immediate results? Am I giving up as soon as the first obstacle appears? Recognizing these traps is the first step to overcoming them. The next time you doubt yourself, remember the image of the ant carrying a fragment 10 times its own size. The next time you carrying a fragment, if she can move forward with such a heavy load, you too can move forward with yours. Perhaps slowly, perhaps with effort, but always onward. The previous chapter showed you the importance of defining your own success. This chapter teaches you that, to achieve it, discipline is more important than fleeting inspiration. Define your goal. Break it down into small steps and move forward like the ant, without complaint, without pause, with determination. In the next chapter, we will see an even deeper truth, that on this disciplined path, you will inevitably encounter setbacks, and there you will discover another vital lesson. You must not fear falling, because it is part of the journey. Invisible stepping stones toward your true growth. Chapter 9. Don't be afraid to fall. A young entrepreneur dreamed of launching a company that would change the world. He raised money, assembled a team, and launched it with all the enthusiasm he could muster. After a year, everything fell apart. Debt, frustration, criticism. He felt like a failure, ashamed, defeated. For months, he thought about giving up, until one day he read the biography of a businessman he admired. He discovered that this idol had failed 3 times before succeeding. Suddenly, he understood that his fall wasn't the end, but part of the process. He gathered his strength, tried again, and, in time, achieved what seemed impossible. His first failure became the foundation of his success. That's how life works. Failure isn't the end. It's a stepping stone. But many misunderstand this. They believe that falling means being worthless, incapable, having no future. That belief destroys dreams more than failure itself. Because it's not the fall that kills, it's the decision not to get up. Think of a bamboo bridge hanging over a river. At first glance, it seems fragile, unsafe. You cross with fear, feeling that each step is unsteady, but the only way to reach the other side is to walk, even if it wobbly. Failure is like that bridge, frightening but necessary to cross if you want to reach a different place. Humanity's greatest achievements are built on mountains of failure. Thomas Edison tried more than 1,000 times before he got his light bulb to work. When asked how he endured so many failed attempts, he replied, "I didn't fail. I discovered 1,000 ways that didn't work." Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper because he lacked creativity. Steve Jobs was ousted from his own company before returning and revolutionizing technology. Each fall was fertile ground where his victory sprouted. Modern psychology supports this view. Studies on resilience show that people who reinterpret failure as learning develop greater emotional strength, more adaptability, and more long-term success. On the other hand, those who see it as a sign of inadequacy often get stuck in paralysis and self-criticism. I want you to understand something fundamental. Failing doesn't mean you're a failure. Failing means you tried, and only those who dare to try have the possibility of transforming their lives. Those who never fail are those who never try. But that's the greatest failure of all, not having truly lived. Ask yourself this question: what's worse, falling after trying or reaching the end of your life with the regret of never having tried? The answer is obvious. Regret is a poison that accumulates over the years, while the scars of failure become medals of experience. I want to propose a powerful exercise. Think about your last failure, write it down, then write 3 lessons that experience taught you. Perhaps you learned to plan better, to surround yourself with other people, to manage your emotions. These 3 lessons are the true treasure hidden beneath the mask of failure. Keep that piece of paper and read it every time life knocks you down again. You'll remind yourself that falls aren't losses, they're learning experiences. Remember also that failure is relative. What you call a fall today might be the turning point that led you to the right place tomorrow. Many look back and realize that what seemed like a disaster was, in reality, a necessary redirection. Life isn't punishing you when you fall. It's training you. Imagine a child learning to walk. They take 2 steps and fall. No one calls them a failure. Everyone applauds, encourages them, and helps them up. Because we understand that falling is part of learning. When did we forget that truth? Why, as adults, do we punish ourselves for falling instead of celebrating it as part of the process? Life will always be a continuous learning process. Resilience doesn't mean never falling. It means getting up again and again. It means understanding that falls shape you, refine you, and strengthen you. Each time you get up, you are wiser, stronger, and more human. Ask yourself, what would you do if you knew for sure that you would fail several times before succeeding? The answer should be obvious. You would try again and again until you succeeded, because you would already know that falls are part of the journey. This mindset is what distinguishes those who move forward from those who remain paralyzed. The previous chapter taught you the discipline of the ant, advancing step by step, without depending on motivation. This chapter teaches you that, on this disciplined path, falls are not detours. They are part of the map. Don't be afraid to fall, because in every stumble, a teacher is hidden. I want you to engrave this phrase in your mind. Every mistake is a brick in the building of your life. Every stumble is a footprint in the mud that proves you walked. True failure would be remaining motionless, hoping everything is safe. Life isn't measured by the number of times you fall, but by the number of times you choose to get back up. And as long as you keep getting up, you'll keep moving forward. Because falling is human, but getting up is divine. Now that you've journeyed through these chapters, you've learned to let go of perfection, to protect your focus, to live in the present, to not give your time away to others, to compare yourself only to yourself, to listen to your inner voice, to define your own success, to learn discipline from the ants, and to not fear falling. You've discovered a complete path to a more conscious and fulfilling life. In the next part of this audiobook, we'll delve into even more practical territory. I'll show you specific routines, habits, and exercises you can start applying today to regain your focus, stop wasting your time, and build a life aligned with who you truly are. Because everything you've learned is useless if you don't put it into action. And action starts now. Up until now, we've journeyed through awareness. You understood that perfection paralyzes, that your focus is sacred, that life only happens in the present, that your time is a non-renewable treasure, that external comparison steals your peace, that the answers lie within you, that success must have your own definition, that the discipline of ants surpasses motivation, and that you shouldn't fear setbacks. All of this gives you clarity, but now you need action, because clarity without action is just a dream, and action without clarity is chaos. Here you'll find practical tools to integrate these ideas into your daily life. 1. A 3-habit daily routine to regain focus. If you don't create a system to protect yourself, they will consume you. That's why I want to suggest 3 daily habits that, when practiced consistently, can transform your productivity and peace of mind. The intentional morning habit. Upon waking, dedicate the first 15 minutes of the day to yourself. Before checking your phone, before opening emails, before engaging with the world. This could be meditating, writing, reading something inspiring, or simply breathing. It's a reminder that your life begins with you, not with external demands. The 3 priorities habit. Every morning, write down the 3 most important things you want to accomplish that day. Just 3. It's not about doing a lot, but about doing what's essential. When you reach the end of the day, you'll feel real satisfaction seeing that you made progress on what matters. The mindful closure habit. Before going to sleep, write a short note with the best thing you accomplished that day and 1 thing you want to improve tomorrow. This simple act trains your mind to focus on progress, not perfection. 2. The non-digital method. 1 hour without screens. We live trapped in an ocean of screens. Phone, computer, television. The problem isn't technology itself, but the dependence we've created. You need to reclaim moments of real disconnection. This is where the non-digital method comes in. Set aside at least 1 hour a day completely free of screens. No phone, no social media, no emails. It can be in the morning, at night, or at lunchtime. Use that time to read a physical book, have uninterrupted conversations, take a walk, contemplate. You'll discover something amazing. Your mind breathes, your creativity is activated, your energy is renewed. That hour is an oasis in the desert of hyperconnectivity. 3. Journaling exercise. Where am I giving away my time? You need to take stock of your life. Each week, write a detailed list of how you spent your time, what activities, with whom, and what distractions you indulged in. Then ask yourself the key question: what in all of this builds me up? And what tears me down? Circle in red the time leaks that don't contribute anything and commit to reducing them. You might discover that you spend 3 hours a day on social media, accept unnecessary meetings, or binge-watch TV series. It's not about eliminating all leisure activities, it's about regaining control. Because your time is life, and no one but you should decide how to invest it. 4. Daily micro-actions, the anchor of personal commitment. The most common mistake when trying to change is attempting to transform everything at once. This leads to burnout and giving up. The key lies in micro-actions, a small, concrete, and repeated gesture each day that reinforces your commitment. It can be as simple as writing a line in your progress journal, doing 10 push-ups, reading 2 pages, saving a coin, or sending a thank you message. The action itself isn't what's important. What's important is that each day reminds you, I am committed to my life. This repetition creates identity, and your identity creates your destiny. 5. A practice of immediate presence. 1-1-2 breathing. When you feel overwhelmed or scattered, do this exercise anywhere. Inhale through your nose, counting to 4. Hold your breath, counting to 4. And exhale slowly, counting to 8. Do this 3 times in a row. It's a mental reset. This simple practice activates your parasympathetic nervous system, calms your mind, and brings you back to the present. It's like pressing a reset button that reminds you, life is now. 6. The art of saying no respectfully. Whenever someone asks you for something you don't want or that doesn't align with your priorities, instead of justifying yourself with endless explanations, use short, clear phrases. Thank you, but I can't. It's not possible for me right now. I'd rather not. The more you practice, the more natural it will become. And with every no you say to the unnecessary, you'll be saying a resounding yes to your life. 7. The mirror rule. Personal progress. Each week, choose one area of your life: health, finances, relationships, personal development, and compare yourself only to yourself. Ask yourself, how was I in this area 3 months ago? What small advances did I make? What adjustments do I need now? This comparison with yourself is the most honest mirror there is, and the only one that truly propels you to grow. These practices aren't complicated and don't require special tools. They're like small keys that, if you use them every day, will open immense doors. Remember, change doesn't happen in an instant. It happens through the accumulation of daily micro-actions. You don't need to transform your entire life tomorrow. You just need to start today, here, now. No one is going to live your life for you. No one can breathe for you. No one can walk for you. No one can decide for you. This is your only life. There is no dress rehearsal, no second chance, no retake. What you don't live today will be lost forever. Throughout this journey, we have discussed many profound truths. You learned that perfection is a paralyzing trap, that your focus is the secret weapon that defines your destiny, that life only exists in the present, and that your time is a treasure you shouldn't give away to others. You discovered that external comparison steals your peace, that the answers lie within you, and that true success is what you define, not what society imposes on you. You saw the strength of discipline in ants and understood that falls are not defeats but stepping stones to your growth. Each chapter was a piece of a puzzle, and today you see it complete. Your life is too precious to continue wasting it. Your time is life. And if you don't protect it, you're giving it away. I want you to imagine yourself for a moment on your last day. Imagine there's no tomorrow left, that your hourglass is about to run out. What would you look back on with pride? What would you regret not having done? Most people, when they reach that point, don't regret what they tried and failed at, but what they never dared to try. They regret not truly living, not loving more, not speaking their minds, not following their own path. Don't let that be your fate. Your life can't keep being postponed. You can't wait for the perfect moment, because it won't come. You can't wait to feel ready, because you'll never truly be ready. You can't wait for fear to disappear, because fear always accompanies the brave. The only answer is to act today. Remember, every time you say tomorrow, the world replies, too late. Every day you procrastinate is a day buried in the graveyard of excuses. But every day you choose to act, even with a small step, is a seed of the future you plant in the present. Time is the fire in which we burn, wrote Delmore Schwartz. That fire can consume you with distractions, empty routines, and external validation. Or it can illuminate your path with purpose and passion. You choose how to burn. I want to leave you with a practical and emotional commitment. Close your eyes for a moment and say softly, "Today is my day. Today I begin. Today I focus on myself. Today I stop giving away my life." Repeat it until you feel those words resonate within you. It's a pact with yourself. It doesn't matter how many times you've fallen, how much time you've wasted, or how many mistakes you've made. The only thing that matters is what you do now. Life always begins anew in this moment, and you have the opportunity to start again today. Do it imperfectly. Do it with fear. Do it even if you doubt. But do it, because action is the bridge between your dreams and your reality. Don't let your ship rust in the harbor. Cast off the moorings and set sail, even if the sea is rough. Move forward with what you have, from where you are, toward where you want to go. Life doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for presence. It doesn't ask for comparison. It asks for authenticity. It doesn't ask for excuses. It asks for courage. This is your only chance. And the question is, are you going to waste it, or are you going to honor it? The answer isn't in tomorrow. It's in what you decide today. So listen carefully to this final call. Act now. Not when it's perfect. Not when it's easy. Not when you have time. Today,